Now, the whole first Trump year has been, I think, revolutionary in a way from the MAGA right, which makes many centrists very unhappy, particularly domestically. The way he's weaponized the Department of Justice, the way he's used tariffs. The Supreme Court now has a big case in front of it about whether his use of tariffs under a so-called emergency is actually legal or not. There are other cases questioning his use or abuse of presidential power. But this is part of the revolution that he's bringing, this idea of a unitary executive, i.e., the president can do whatever he or she wants, which I think is a big, big change.
Yeah.
And he surrounded himself with all kinds of sycophantic people in his own cabinet.
Now, big meetings taking place today in the White House. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who is extremely eager to get around US oil sanctions, is meeting with Donald Trump today. Orban's coming to the White House squarely focused on obtaining an exemption. We're here to explain the dynamics of the meeting and why some Europeans are nervous is Stephen Earlanger, the New York Times diplomatic correspondent. Stephen, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. So Orban's sole focus, it seems, is to obtain an exemption on these sanctions. Do you think he's going to get it?
I think he probably will. I mean, Hungary and Slovakia are pretty dependent on Russian energy. There's a pipeline. They've always been that way. The Europeans have learned to live with it. I mean, Trump may make comments on it. After all, he's sanctioned India for buying Russian oil. But this is a long-standing relationship. He's very fond of Orban. Orban, in many ways, is seen by Trump people as a kind of predecessor of the Trump style. And Orban was also the person that Trump wanted to host this summit meeting that hasn't happened between himself and Vladimir Putin and possibly with Zelensky on the side. So Orban is very invested in also trying to ensure that if such a summit happens, it happens there. Europeans are angry in general just because Orban has been kind of an outlier and they do not want Putin, who has been seen as a war criminal by the ICC, to be coming and welcome to an EU member state. So these things are all in play, but my guess is since the two of them get on very well, they'll keep differences pretty well hidden.
Of course, that meeting that was announced to say we're going to be meeting, I think it was in Budapest, wasn't it? And, Trump said very confidently that could happen within a fortnight or so before that totally crumbled again. How sort of symbolic a setback would it be for sort of Ukrainian, other European leaders? They've spent months trying to sort of use this unified voice to prod Donald Trump against Putin. How much of a setback would it be if Viktor Orban gets what he wants?
Well, I think it would be a setback, but I mean, the main issue is whether Trump's willing to put pressure on Putin in a serious way, threatening to cut off energy supplies, blah, 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 more sanctions. He's done some of that, obviously. He's done some serious sanctions because he was so angry at Putin about the failure of having the summit against two big Russian banks. So he has done something. But I do think he sees Orban as a kind of ideological ally and a way for the US to make its interests felt inside the European Union. It should be said that Orban lately inside the European Union has been behaving himself better, partly because I think, as he always does, he kind of judges the mood and knows his colleagues are annoyed with him. So again, Orban just wants to stay on Trump's good side, which is true of most leaders in the world.
Yeah.
And because they get on, he'll probably have to debase himself less than many leaders find themselves having to do.
Actually, it'd be interesting to hear your reflection, Stephen, of the last year, really. I mean, Viktor Orban is making his only first visit to the White House. There have been many extremely turbulent meetings held in the Oval Office in the last year as Donald Trump's been president for the second time around. Where do you think we are sort of 12 months on from Trump 2.0 in terms of how different the administration and turbulent it's been this time round?
Well, it's not even been a year, which is, I think, exhausting everyone, not just in Washington, but all over the world, because Trump is basically unpredictable when you get him in a setting, particularly in front of the press. And he loves to show off in front of the press. If you read the transcripts of his comments, they wander around. And oftentimes, if you're sitting there as a leader and there's some domestic thing that touches him off, in a way, it's a relief because then you're spared. But if he wants to attack or be amused by making people uncomfortable, that's what he'll do. It's a very hard thing to gauge. So this is why I think Orban's probably okay. Now, the whole first Trump year has been, I think, revolutionary in a way from the MAGA right, which makes many centrists very unhappy, particularly domestically. The way he's weaponized the Department of Justice, the way he's used tariffs. The Supreme Court now has a big case in front of it about whether his use of tariffs under a so-called emergency is actually legal or not. There are other cases questioning his use or abuse of presidential power. But this is part of the revolution that he's bringing, this idea of a unitary executive, i.e. the president can do whatever he or she wants, which I think is a big, big change.
Yeah.
And he surrounded himself with all kinds of sycophantic people in his own cabinet who sometimes, really are out to change things on their own, using his power as a pretext, as an excuse, as a sort of sanction for the kind of right-wing revolution they've been planning for really years now.
Stephen, thank you so much for your time and your analysis. Stephen Earlanger, the New York Times diplomatic correspondent, and we'll be watching out for that meeting that takes place later today between Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban and Donald Trump.
And one other thing, our country has to remain very liquid because problems, catastrophes, wars, could be anything. We have to remain liquid. We can't give everything away.
From the beginning. Sure. First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position
this
to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're doing.
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel.